Meeting called to order.
So I will start with our regular start here. So in accordance with an act to implement provisions necessary to the health, welfare, and safety of the citizens in Maine in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency, as enacted to read Section G1 MRSA, subsection 403A, public proceedings through remote access during declaration of state of emergency due to COVID-19. This business meeting is being held with a mix of in-person and virtually through Zoom. The meeting is also being recorded and will be posted on the maranacook.org YouTube channel. So due to the change in the format of this Board of Directors meeting, please be aware that during the course of this meeting, the microphones of the viewing audience will be muted except during the identified portions of public comments at this meeting. For today's meeting, this is item number 2. And due to this also being a budget meeting, there's an additional comment session specific to budgetary questions at number 5E. There is a chat box feature that we will not be using, but we will be using during the public comment section, and I will review that when we get to those particular places on the agenda. In the meantime, if you have questions, you may submit them to the central office, email myself or any other board member, and an answer will be provided as soon as possible. Again, we ask for the public's patience during these highly unusual circumstances. So attendance and all votes will be done through roll call. So when your name is called, board members, please cast your vote with the 3 available options of yes, approve, no, disapprove, or abstain. We're going to proceed to a roll call of the board members to make sure we can hear them and they can hear us. So please let us know you're here. So I'm going to start right at the top. Kim Bowie.
Here.
Yes. Wendy.
Here.
Dane.
Here.
Kathy Jacobs.
Here.
Melissa. Not hearing anything. We can check later. Alex.
Here.
Right. Patty Gordon.
Here.
Rebecca Lambert.
Here.
Betty Morrell.
Here.
Sean Roderick.
Here.
Gary Carr.
Here.
And David Twitchell.
Here.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Carr.
So we have citizens' comments.
So for this section, what we're going to add, we're going to try something a little bit different. If you are online and you would like to make a comment or ask a question at this time, please use the chat feature and signal to Diane McGregor, who is moderating the Zoom call, and she will facilitate you being able to speak at this time. And board members, if we could please just wait to give Diane a chance to review the people in the room, then we can go from there. Looks like she's giving us the thumbs up, so there are no comments from the online community at this time.
Additions to the agenda.
I have one, and it's specific basically for board members. Didn't want to take a whole lot of time. You'll notice that there's 2 flyers in your folders tonight about an event that is planned to happen at Mount Vernon Elementary School this coming Saturday. It's a story walk, and they're also unveiling their little free library. And I just wanted to share with you the work that's gone into it, that it runs from 9 to 11 a.m. Jeanette Jacobs, Kathy Reed, Rachel Boucher, and Principal Delmeyer have been working with the Maranacook Educational Foundation for this Mount Vernon Story Walk. This was part of a grant award from the Maranacook Educational Foundation. And they have quite a bit going on there. Titcomb Ski Mountain in Farmington actually has donated some ski passes for students that enter in a free raffle. And let's see, there will be some other things going on, including snowshoeing, and that'll be provided by our new school nurse, Justin Easter, and Nancy Martin, our PE teacher, will be doing some yoga as well. So they have a fun 2 hours put together, and certainly all of the board members are invited to attend. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that was going on and know that there was an invitation extended directly to all of you here. Thank you, Dr. Carr.
Microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I had a question. I don't know whether it fits here in a different part. I wanted feedback on how we're doing with safety with the schools beginning to open up more. I
Yep.
wanted to know that.
Do you want to make that an agenda item D, just C, excuse me, 4D, yes.
Okay,
And just a review of the safety protocols based on reopening.
very good.
Patty has something.
Oh, Patty?
I just wanted to ask Janet, I just think that story walk at Mount Vernon sounds so awesome. And especially in this awful time when people are so down, and it just sounds like tons of work and an amazing community event. And I would request that Janet takes back to Jeanette and Rachel and the third person whose name I don't know, I didn't catch, I'm sorry, how awesome we think it is, and thumbs up from the board.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. I appreciate that. They've worked so hard. They've really done a lot of planning, and there's a free book for all students that are enrolled at Mount Vernon Elementary School if they come. And we really look forward to being a community event to go on the story walk and promote literacy and being outside where it's safe. We can do that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I move to approve the minutes of February 3rd, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
All righty. Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
Yes,
And that passes unanimously.
I move to approve the Capital Area Technical Center, CATC, Cooperative Agreement 2020 through 2021.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have a question.
Yep.
27 slots allotted to Maranacook. Is that less than last year?
It's the same as last year.
It is the
Yeah.
same? Okay.
It's the same as last year. I'll just tell everyone, usually we do this right at the beginning of the year, but because of the pandemic and there was a lot of uncertainty, nothing has changed in the agreement. It's identically the same as last year. So spots and everything exactly the same, at least from last year. That's a good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jay?
Yes.
Cool.
Kim?
Kim? Oh, sorry. Yes, Kim, right? Yeah, there she is.
Hey Jay, I was just wondering if we fill all 27 spots, and if it is specific to certain programs, the number that we get, or 27, it doesn't matter where, just anywhere.
Right? It's basically 27 slots is what we're allotted across the different programs. So we don't, I'll be very honest in saying we haven't typically filled all 27 slots in the past couple of years in my short time here. So
The reason,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I'm asking is because I have heard that it's been very challenging, not that people have gotten denied, I don't know, but in particular the nursing program.
Yep.
Are we ever told that we can't, do you know if we've ever rejected any students, or is it just challenging,
To the-
but everybody still gets in that wants it?
I think you're hit the nail on the head. It's been challenging, and pretty much everyone that's wanted to get in has been able to get in. To my knowledge, we've never turned anyone away or said, sorry, the slots are filled up. That's another good question. Thank you.
And to kind of add to
Thank you.
Jay, I'm pretty sure any slots that are not filled are pooled and then can
Yes.
be reselected to other districts as well.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
But that's done a little bit later. It's not done like right away because they know there's going to be shifting that goes on. But Alex was on the advisory committee last year. Yeah, he did it at least a year. Yeah, at least a year and a half. And that is how they do it. They reallot after enrollment is settled. Then they reallot it to other schools to try to fill the programs, because they have to have a certain number of kids in order to be able to run the program. So if they can reallot slots, they absolutely do. So
And the challenges have more to do with scheduling.
no, the
Or-
challenges have had more to do with COVID-19, the having to clean, the number of schools that have, that feed into the Augusta Center has been the challenge, because of some schools are in, some schools are out. I mean, COVID-19 has just played havoc with them. They've actually done a really good job trying to be open as much as possible. So,
So other years, there aren't the same challenges.
Right.
It's much easier.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
actually, didn't we adopt a uniform calendar?
calendar, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That really helped solve a lot of the problems. Yep. Good questions, comments.
Roll call.
All righty, roll call vote. Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
Yes,
And that carries unanimously. Thank you.
I move to accept the teacher resignation effective June 30th, 2021 for special education teacher Victoria McMullen with regret.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Kim,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and David.
yes.
So again, unanimous. Thank you guys very much.
So now we're up to review of the protocol.
Yeah. So today was the first Wednesday back. And from what I understand, the children were very excited to be there. We are following all of our protocols that we've been doing before. That's the intent right now. So we are paying attention to social distancing as appropriate. Hand washing is still a priority. Masking is still obviously a priority. And then the sanitizing at lunchtimes and all that kind of stuff during those transition periods we're doing. So really everything has stayed the same, at least up to this point. The middle school they're kind of doing the same thing they're doing. They're getting ready to go synchronous remote on Wednesdays. That'll start March 10. So there's not much changes there in terms of the safety protocols. And then the high school will start their rotation also on March 10th, starting with cohort A. And again, we're working through we came up with a process to take a look at students that may want to add an additional day in or change cohorts. So we have a process in place. We'll be having our first meeting tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to take a look at that. But everything is kind of in place and continuing on as is. The one thing that we just being very careful with at the high school is the number of students in any particular room in the high school. So the cohort changes we want to make sure that we're appropriately social distancing, and then obviously doing the cleaning going forward. But right now, everything's in place and none of that has changed. And I will depend very heavily on our custodians and the teachers to let us know if there's safety hazards there so that we can get them addressed as quickly as possible. So, but I'm very pleased, just so you know, I'm very pleased with the work that they've done to get ready for this transition. So,
And the playgrounds are being.
and the
opened.
playgrounds are being used at all 4 elementary schools. Yes.
Thank you.
Budget workshop presentation,
All righty.
previous updates.
All right, so we've got a couple of handouts for you. I'll give Donna just a second to hand them out. And while she's doing that, people online were emailed them. Donna? People online should check their email for these? Okay, all right. So if they're not there, they will be there in just a moment.
Thank you.
So, oh, I'm gonna wait, sorry. So I'll start with the itemized list that says budget changes, second draft, or summary of budget changes is the title right at the top. You'll notice that this expanded a little from last time. We gave you a partial list at the meeting right before February break. So what we did is we went through, and I shouldn't say we, I should give the credit here to Bridget. She's the one that put this document together. But she went through and added in all of the kind of big ticket items that matches fairly close, it actually exactly matches because that's how Bridget does it. It matches the bottom line on the next page, the general fund summary sheet. You'll notice that our budget is still up $750,552.92, which is up almost 4%. So what we did is we took that number and translated it to the increases that we are expecting through the course of going into next year. So you can see, for example, we talked about the addition of 1 classroom teacher. Ryan had talked about his special ed classrooms needing an extra teacher there. He is going to reduce down 2 special ed techs. However, he did mention that we would need an interpreter, so that's been included there. The transportation maintenance administrative assistant, we were paying for that through ESSER funds, and we talked about putting it in here as a very necessary position. Again, we'll have to make some decisions going forward. 2 custodians increasing from 6 hours to 8 hours per day. The curriculum coordinator will be moving from 60% back to 100%. And then we've got technology staff that we need extra support in the summer because we've had a huge increase in devices. And Diane will be presenting a little bit more tonight. And then we're in support staff negotiations, as all of you know. So that has been kind of factored in to get started. We will talk more about that at the next board meeting next week. You can see the health insurance increases are 10% along with dental at 5%. That will be adjusted once we get our actual rates. Those come in a little bit later, usually April-ish, right? Very beginning of April. Out of district special ed costs and seed money that we have to have in our budget. And then of course, out of district transportation in special ed. We'll talk more about technology. I won't read that to you right now. We'll talk more about technology, instructional programs that we are currently using to help supplement some of the work that we've been doing remotely, Dreambox, Lexia, Zoom, Seesaw at the elementary schools, Mystery Science, Ed Puzzle. We've got a handful of them there, but when you add them up, it does come out to be a significant amount. As Sean will be presenting his budget today, you'll notice that we're actually going to be down $86,000 in maintenance, and we'll speak to that in just a few minutes with Sean. Debt service, as you can see there, that's coming off of our books as well. And then in the supply line, as you can see there, which is basically purchase services, supplies, equipment, et cetera, we're up about $2,500. So that matches that $750,000 in the other one. But just wanted to kind of give you guys a snapshot of where we were and some of those big ticket items that we will have to make some decisions around as we move forward. Figured by giving this to you now, you can start to process and think, how important is this, and what you will be able to support going forward. There's a lot there to talk about for sure. So that's basically it. Some of the, just so that you guys know, the way we were able to lower, if you guys remember the first round you saw was a little over 4, it was over 4%. So one of the things you'll see is, and we'll talk about here with Sean in just a few minutes, is moving maintenance projects into the bond. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. We have a couple of retiree salaries that will help us a little bit going forward. Because of our partnership with Winthrop and RSU 2 through the Educational Service Center, the state pays for Power School for us, so it's definitely worth the investment to have Power School paid by the state. That's a nice plus there. But again, we had 2 students that we had to increase the seed cost for under special education, and we had missed one of the digital subscriptions, which is Literacy Footprints. So we had to add that back in, but we are, as you can see, just a little bit below 4%, and we're going to keep chipping away at this as we go forward. So just wanted you guys to know what changes have been made and what kind of the big picture looks like. Certainly, Alex.
So the governor released her budget or presented it yesterday.
Yep.
Any changes?
No, ours, our ED 279 has stayed the same. Obviously, it could still change. There's still a vote that needs to happen, but we're proceeding forward like there's not going to be any change to the education side, so, of the budget. That's a great question. Any other questions I can answer right now? I know there'll probably be some questions when we talk technology and operations and maintenance here, so I expect there will be more. So if that's the case, then I'm actually going to invite Diane to come up and speak a little bit about the technology budget. You'll notice that it's the same it looks like the same presentation. So the first few slides are definitely the same here. Just to remind you what our goal is, what I gave as team directives going forward. So our goal was to support all students' academic, social and emotional success while maintaining physical responsibility. So that was our goal. And then our team directives were a little to no increase. We targeted 0%. We know we're working on it. We'll see how close we can get to that. Increased transparency of spending practices. The instructional line was based on the number of students in a building. And we gave an additional allotment for Title I schools, and that's Mount Vernon and Wayne at this time. Our class sizes we're trying to keep between 15 and 20 at the elementary, 18 to 22 at the middle school. And as you guys know, the high schools are kind of a different animal because of the various courses they have, but we're looking to have 10 or more in all of our high school classes. And then again, we look closely at positions. They're not automatically filled. We kind of take a look at how that all works out wise. We have had a few resignations here over the past couple weeks, but again, those are all positions that will need to be filled. Like, for example, the one you approved tonight, is a special ed teacher, and it's the only one in Manchester, so we'll have to replace them. We'll have to replace her. So that's kind of where we are with the team directives. And as I said, we we don't want the budgeting process to become contentious between the towns and the districts. So again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. And in the administrative team, we continue to have meetings to discuss the factors affecting the budget and review requests as a team based on the overall goal that was set by the board here. So with that, I believe I can turn it over to Diane, who will talk a little bit about technology. And then Sean will talk a little bit about operations and maintenance. And I will review very quickly the COVID monies that we've got. Just, I think it's an appropriate place to put that. So we will do that at that time.
Hard to do everything.
Yes, it is. While she's getting everything ready, I just want to let you guys know that Diane has done an outstanding job. Her and her team with technology. She's had to get iPads out. She's had to help get accounts set up, Zoom accounts, Seesaw accounts, literacy footprints accounts. Her and her team have done an amazing job, and we wouldn't be in the position we are in with technology without her, her being here and the efforts that her and her team put in. So I know she didn't hear any of that. That's why I decided to do it at that time. That's why I decided to do that now, because she wouldn't have liked that. So.
Hi, everyone. Super great to be here and be able to talk to you about the technology and all the changes and things that we face. I have two things in specifically that I'm going to talk to you tonight. First is about laptops, and just to give you a little background knowledge, I think in the last 2 years I've been talking about, we've got our big refresh coming up, and students in grades 6 through 12 are going to need new devices. And we were actually able to get on a 5th year with our MacBook Airs that we got through MLTI. And because the kids have been fantastic and our tech department has been so fantastic in keeping our fleet of devices kept up, updated, protected, fixed, all of that, we're actually doing very well for year 5. And our teachers and administrators use the heck out of these. And especially with all the Zooming that we're doing now and all of the online stuff, it's been incredible to be able to have devices that actually have kept the rigor for 5 years. So we feel pretty good about that. The state right now is reimagining MLTI. It's called MLTI 2.0. And they are throwing a few curveballs our way. In the past, what we've been able to do is purchase, 7th and 8th grade have been the traditional MLTI grades. And then we were able to go purchase 6th grade and then 9 through 12. And then through the state, use that power, that purchasing power to get the state rates. And then we would just pay the state for the extra grades that we had. Also through that program, we were able to purchase all of our teacher laptops from grades pre-K all the way up to 12. So that allowed us to have continuity of devices. Also for PD, we're able to offer a lot of PD, and we were able to have repairs go in a very systematic way. So that we've been very thankful for. because of the change that's happening right now with MLTI 2.0, they're in the RFP process, which is request for proposals. That ends on March 10th. And then from there, when the proposals come in, they get scored. And then we get the choices of what the devices are going to be offered through MLTI. So that backs up our planning a little bit. And so Bridget and I have been in, NJ, we've been in close contact of like when I hear something, I let them know. And then we just decided that we would come up with a plan to at least purchase or budget 20% more than what we had paid in the 4-year lease program that we did with the state. So that gives us money in our budget that can protect whatever way we go. You know, if we are able to use the state plan as far as using the power to purchase on the state, we'll have to come up with our own lease purchase through our district, but I feel pretty confident that Bridget can make that happen. But we just need to have money in our budget before just to go forward, right? We know that this needs to be done. There are a few options, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood that if there's a way to use that state purchasing power, that we'd like to try to do that, but if we can't, there are other alternatives to make this happen. So can you go to this next slide? So these are the numbers that it looks like. I just wanted you to see the numbers. So you can see that for the Manchester teachers, it was $5,600 for 4 years. And then we just put in a 20% increase on that. And then so on down the line. And you can see that it really jumps up, of course, for the middle school. If you look down, there was 30,000, almost 31,000. And then with a 20% increase, it's 37. And then the high school, that's 4 grades and the teachers, and that was 91. And then that goes up to 109. So those are bigger numbers than, you know, but those were similar numbers to what we had in the budget before. Last year was a little bit of a fluke because it was the bridge year, right? So we didn't have as much in the budget then, so we used the numbers that were the actual payment numbers. So that's the MLTI kind of where we are with that, and I'd like to come back to you hopefully end of March, beginning of April with a plan. You know, we're kind of at a little bit of the mercy of the state for, you know, what devices and what they're going to come up with for, and even if they will allow us to use the bargaining of the state to do our purchase, even though we're going to pay for our own purchase, we're really hoping that they'll let us get into the purchasing power of using what the state has negotiated. The next thing that I really want to talk to you about has to do with our networks. Our elementary schools right now are using old MLTI networks, which means that they're really, they're pretty old. So the network equipment that came out of this building and the high school, we replicated over at the elementary schools. And it served us pretty well. We knew that we were going to need to do some upgrades. But of course, this year really threw a curveball at us. When we added all of the iPads into the elementary schools, iPads are very chatty on a network. They're constantly checking in and checking out and, you know, just saying, hey, I'm here. And it just creates a lot of chatter on the network. And we're also experiencing things like there's a lot of smart cars that have devices that are part of the car, and that is checking into our networks too and causing some conflicts that happen, like Mount Vernon, their parking lot is sort of right in the L of one of their buildings. And that's been problematic, that it's caused a lot of interference on our network. With newer networks, that doesn't happen. There's better ways to handle the traffic. So what we have done is, I was waiting to see if the state was going to help out with our networks again, like they had the last few iterations of MLTI, and they are not going to do that. And so there's a part of me that I'm pretty frugal, and I want to make sure that if we're going to have an opportunity to have some help from the state, that I wanted to use that. That is not going to happen. So we're in a new cycle of E-rate, which is a governmental program. And what I was able to find out is that our category 2 budget has a budget ceiling of $224,000, and it's available for 5 years. And because of our free and reduced budget lunch count, we get reimbursed at 60%. So we have available to us almost $225,000. And if we paid our 40% of that, that would be about $90,000. That's sort of like within what I'm looking for a budget. However, that's not what, I don't want to spend every penny, is what I'm saying. But I just want to sort of know what my parameters were. So we filed for an RFP, which is a Form 470, and we've been getting bids in for redoing all the networks at all 4 elementary schools, the middle school and the high school. And we're actually putting in, if we put in the bid, an outdoor classroom, which would beacon from the side of the middle school down to the sports field, you know, the press box down there, and bring internet down in this area, which would allow for outdoor learning and would benefit our athletic programs that we have going. So we currently have 8 proposals that we're reviewing, and we're hopeful. We have some really great numbers, and so we'll be, I can't talk about the proposals because it's private, so I hope to have those numbers for you in a settled thing as early as our next meeting. So that process can come around. And then the upgrades would be done in the summertime. So it has to go by July 1st. And the nice thing about the new E-rate process is that the company that wins the bid can get paid directly. The 60% can come directly from the government, and we don't have to budget for that. In years past, we've had to budget the whole amount and then get reimbursed and then pay it out. And that's very cumbersome for a school. So that's a great change. It's also a great change that although our amounts are calculated through our student numbers and our schools, it becomes a district amount. And so then we can plan as a district how we're going to use that money. And so that's really helpful for some of our smaller schools that don't get enough money to do a whole network. They can benefit from the whole pot of money and get what they need. And so that's a really great increase thing. So I think a lot about this COVID situation that we're in, and it's been stressful, but there's been a lot of great opportunities. And so I'm looking at this as an opportunity to really beef up our networks at all of our schools and, use the programs that we have available to us to help our budgets out. So hopefully, I know this is all going to work out. It's just one of those, hard budget things to talk to you guys about because, these are big numbers, but like I said, I think there's some opportunities here and we're going to be better for it. Are there any questions?
So are you increasing the speed of the network?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead,
Kathy?
Kathy?
So I'm just wondering what happens to all the laptops that we currently have? I know it's happened in the past, but could you just
Yes.
explain what?
So we don't have a formal plan yet. There are options for us. One of the, often what we do is we benefit from, rearranging all of the laptops. We'll have a lot here. So there might be a possibility where we may be able to have the community benefit from the excess laptops that we have. And so we'll talk more about that later, but like that is definitely, I would rather have a community benefit for it than have an outside company come in and do something. I feel very fortunate that our communities have been so supportive of our budgets, and it would have to be sort of like a lottery system. We've done that in the past where, people put their names in and we're able to distribute them that way. There would be a cost, of course, and that might be able to help recoup some of the expenses that we have coming forward. So you're welcome.
Alex?
So I know this past year, the broadband bond discussion, does that have any effect on anything we're doing?
So in my budget, I have, I hope this is answering, maybe not, but I have Kijiji. Actually, I'm not going to go forward with the Kijiji. We're going to use the Samsung tablets that were given to us by the state. And there is a cost per month on those. And so that is in my budget. So,
Okay. So I guess, kind of.
are we talking about kids at home?
Well, yeah, I mean, the
Okay.
purpose of the bond was to expand internet access, especially around dead-end roads that don't
Yes,
have access
yes.
to Spectrum or whatever internet service provider you want to talk about. So I was just wondering if there was any activity that would benefit us directly. For instance, like, have you heard of anything from the state that they're going to expand internet access and by doing so reduces the need for the RSU to provide internet?
Right. That would be the goal. I have not heard
Okay.
that happening yet. I follow that pretty closely. So if I hear any of that, I will definitely send it out to the board just so that you know what's going on. I know that Reedfield has been having meetings and they've got some different options out there that they want feedback on. So I think a lot of towns are doing that as well. That would benefit everyone, right? And so hopefully that continues to be planned out for the state of Maine.
Okay. Can I ask a second? Okay. I guess my second question. So our current networks, are we close to capacity as far as, I forgot what the term you used, but as
Bandwidth?
bandwidth?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. We're probably we're pushing it at the elementary schools for sure. And at the high school and the middle school, with the amount of Zooming and online stuff that's going on concurrently, we're pushing it here.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Sean.
So when you had the 224K and then might as well say 90K or 89.
Yeah, yeah.
It said 5 years. I wasn't quite following that. Is that 90K going to be for 5 years or is that going to be split up over 5 years or is it one? I wasn't quite sure what that meant. So you can clarify.
Sure, I'd love to. So basically what happens is you get a pot of money for 5 years and you have 5 years to spend it. And so if we spent all in the first year, right, the 40% of that would be almost 90,000. Okay. So, but if we don't spend it all in the first year, you have an opportunity to put in another Form 470 and continue to spend that money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you would know how much of that 90K like by April.
Oh, yes, yes.
What we would need to raise.
Yes.
Yep. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And I think there's some opportunities with, some of the money that we're getting from the grants, the COVID money and those types of things that could help offset some of this stuff. But again, I want you to see the real numbers of this is what it is, this is where we're going, and how we get there is the decisions that we need to make.
Are these Apple computers?
It's not a foregone conclusion that it would be Apple computers. We've had Apple computers in the past. I will say that I do have a bias, especially on year 5 right now. I know that a Chromebook could not go 5 years at the level that the MacBook Airs have. So, but I'm not saying that the new purchase has to be, but we're going to use some criteria to make some decisions moving forward.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sean, are you ready for your part? And we are going to hand something out, so bear with us for just a moment while Sean gets ready.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. And just so that people online know, it was included in the previous email that Donna sent out. So if you want to check your email so you can follow along. And Sean, we'll turn it over to you at this
Okay.
point.
Good evening, everybody. This is the hardest part of my job, right here, is speaking. I'm just not a good speaker. But we'll go down through my budget. If you guys don't mind, I'll go down through every school. And then if you guys want to ask some questions afterwards, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with Manchester Elementary. I've got in for $4,000 for painting. I've got $1,600 for replacing some toilets, $3,500 for cold patch and crack fill, and $1,200 for replacing sink faucets, which comes to a total of $10,300 for Manchester. Mount Vernon, we've got $5,000 for painting and $1,200 for the faucets, the sink faucets. Usually every year on Mount Vernon, if you guys aren't really familiar, but we always have wood chips in there for the playground. But this year I have it from this year's budget. We didn't use it, so I'm going to get the wood chips in the spring. So we'll have that for. So, and that comes to $6,200. Reedfield Elementary, $5,000 for painting, $1,600 to replace 2 toilets, and $1,500 for the sink faucets. which comes to $8,100 for Reed Field. Wayne Elementary, $5,000 for painting and $4,000 for siding repair, which comes to a total of $9,000. The middle school, we have $5,000 for painting, $2,700 for the gym floors, $2,800 for the dumpster rentals that we do every year, $3,500 for coal patch and crack fill, and $2,000 for the slow and flush meters. Comes to a total of $16,000. The high school, we have $7,000 for painting, $4,000 for panel box identification, $3,000 for the gym floor, and $2,500 for sink faucets, for a total of $16,500. And just in transportation is $5,000 for painting. And that's the total there is $5,000. And the only piece of equipment that I'm asking for this year is a zero-turn mower. It's the biggest one that we have. It's the one that does our fields, and that's $26,000. So are there any questions?
So Sean, can I ask you to hang out there for a second?
Yep.
Rebecca, do you mind sharing what was discussed at the facility meeting at this point?
Okay.
Because I think this will help the conversation.
Okay.
Okay, so the Facilities Committee met on February 9th, and first up, Jay updated us on transportation. They're talking to First Student to discuss contracting help with bus driving for 4 more weeks. The mechanic is going out on medical leave, but the driver that we had that left is coming back after February break, and they can do some mechanical work, so that'll be helpful while he's out or she's out. We discussed the transportation budget, and Sean noted that they're rotating the buses so that they are all used, even though we're not using all the buses at once. For the bond funds, right now we have $937,000 approximately remaining for the bond funds. There are 2 items that are outstanding, and that's the LED lights for the athletic fields and the upgrades to the industrial arts room to resolve the safety issues. For the lights, in March, Sean is setting up a walkthrough, and the project will get going as soon as possible in the spring. And industrial arts upgrades, the instructor has been out on leave, and it kind of fell off the radar with COVID. The upgrades include a new dust collector, a hood over the forge, and rearranging the layout to maximize the usage of the space. Sean also reported that the elevator lift and the lift thing at Wayne Elementary needs to be replaced. The one that we have is no longer being made, and after working with Otis to get it repaired, the only option that we have is to replace it. So based on his online research, he estimated the cost would be approximately $75,000. But after that, we got an email that the estimate, including installation, is $34,900. So that's much better. So it was the consensus of the committee that the industrial arts upgrades, the Wayne Elementary lift replacement are priorities. And they also talked about how to support the music and the arts department. Repairs, possible bond additions. The bus garage lift needs to be replaced, and that's going to cost approximately $34,000. The hot water boiler at the high school will approximately cost $145,000. The bus garage boiler has sprung a leak, and the waste oil furnace is unsafe. Sean is able to do the work for both these items, but he doesn't have a cost for those yet. The genie lift at the high school is not going to pass inspection, and the cost to repair is equal to the cost of a new one. So they're asking for a new one at approximately $18,000. And roof replacements with a total cost of approximately $83,000 would be done at Mount Vernon, $42,000, Wayne for $16,000, and the middle school for $25,000. Manchester Elementary is all set for a couple of years, but Sean's going to get a price on that so we can get them all done. We then discussed which projects could be paid for with bond money and which should be run through the budget. And we discussed long-term projects, security at the schools, and ideas on how to support the arts. The committee feels that the major projects with longest useful life should be added to the bond in order to reduce the economic burden for the taxpayers. With these comments, it was changed the way Sean's budget presentation looked, and he detailed the rest of his budgets, highlighting the reasons for the changes. Jay reported to the committee that there's a request from the town of Mount Vernon. The town is proposing to split the cost of installing a generator at the Mount Vernon Elementary School so that they can use that as an emergency shelter. We talked about the need for a generator at the school and who would maintain it, and there was concern expressed about setting precedents. So it was determined that while the idea of having an emergency shelter is great, the need isn't worth the investment for the district. But not wanting to shut the emergency shelter idea down completely, we'd be happy to review a type of agreement where the town of the town of Mount Vernon purchased and installed the generator, and then the RSU could provide routine maintenance afterwards. For the COVID funds, Jay updated us on that. The first round for $159,000 pretty much went to an extra nurse. The second, COVID funds 1A, I guess the second rounds of the first COVID funds was $660,000. There are funds left, and they're working on prioritizing the needs. The cost figures for technology will be better known at the beginning of March, so that will help. The ideas have included salaries for intervention at Wayne, software programs, technology needs, summer school, and remote learning for next year. The coronavirus relief funds in the amount of approximately $900,000 went to COVID relief items, basically desks, security substitute teachers, and personal protective equipment. The second round of coronavirus relief funds for approximately $942,000 has about $20,000 left. We use that for ion filters, bus security, iPads, and other equipment like headphones and hotspots, and food service equipment. So for the next meeting, Sean's working on the industrial arts upgrades. Jay's going to talk to the town of Mount Vernon, and he was also going to talk to the music and arts departments to see what kind of enhancements their programs could use that also have a long, useful life. That's it.
I know that's a lot of information, but it all ties in directly to why Sean's budget looks the way it does this year. One of the concerns that Sean has, and Sean, if I'm speaking for you, you can cut me off and say it's okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead. It's
Or
fine.
if you're okay
Yeah.
with it, yeah. One of the concerns that we just want to caution everyone about is Sean's budget basically is coming in at a little over $100,000, but this would not be considered normal. It's the bond funds and some of the COVID funds that are allowing us to keep his budget as low as we are. So one of the things both him and I know he's had conversations with Bridget about, is one of his concerns is when you bring it down, can you ever bring it back up? And what Sean does for us is amazing. So I just want to caution people that it looks low this year, but it will not be that low next year going forward, because obviously we won't have the same pools of money that we currently have. So he's trying to be very strategic about what he's doing with those, and with the guidance from the facilities committee and of course this board. It's really helped us be very, what we've chosen will last 15 or more years, and that's really what we were looking for. So it's just, please keep that in mind going forward. It's low this year, but next year it won't come in at a little over $100,000. It just can't, because then we'll get behind on the maintenance and keeping up with the repairs that come forth through the course of a year. Sean, I hope I summarized
Yeah,
that.
no, and you're exactly right. I mean, my biggest concern is I don't want to go behind, where you guys have trusted in us to get us to where we are. We're getting ahead. We're doing really good, so it's okay maybe one year to slack it back. But if we do it every year this low, we'll just get behind again. And like I said, we're doing really good. So I just want to keep going ahead.
Wasn't there something else at the transportation department that we needed to replace?
There was the two boiler, the waste oil furnace, and the regular boiler, and the lift, the bus lift.
Well, the reason why those are not in there because you're going to the bar.
Right.
But the waste, you put the waste, why do we move that over? Because that's going to last a long time, right?
Yeah, we put that into the bond too, the waste oil.
So,
I don't see all the items.
Yeah.
My problem is,
right,
they're missing
yeah,
on this page.
right. So what
You got a
we'll
lot
do
more
is,
work that you didn't get credit for because we're not. I'm
Yeah.
just telling you, I mean,
Right.
just read them off,
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
Read them off, and I look at it, they're missing. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. What Sean originally put in the budget for next year was not all the projects that needed to be done.
Right.
But when he came to the facilities meeting, he talked about all the projects that needed to be done. So the ones that you see on the sheet are just the ones that he originally had in the budget, and that it's recommended to be moved to the bond. But there is some additional items that he talked about at the facilities. They just weren't originally in the budget. So we can do up another list that shows.
I mean, yeah, because he needs credit for it. Otherwise, you're going to lose the amount of money for the following year that you're not going to have if it doesn't show. I don't like that. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, that answered my original question, but are these like all the big projects, or are there projects you see not that good? Is there something that's?
These are the real big ones that are coming up right
Nothing
now.
else you see going to heck 3 or 4?
No, I mean, anything can happen, unfortunately, but yeah, but we're really, really in good shape. These are the big ones right now. Other than that, the only bigger things that I could see in the horizon is someday if we can get efficiency Main, maybe with the LED lighting thing with schools, or maybe with windows, doors down the road, stuff like that. But like the sink faucets and stuff that I have in my budget this year, I'd like to just pluck away so much every year. They're old, let's just replace them. I mean, we can, do that in the budget. But the big items, the real big items are these right here.
like one of the things, Sean, that you've done every year is he's replaced some of the unit ventilators
Yep.
in the schools. Well, because of the COVID funds, we actually spent close to $40,000 on unit ventilators because we knew ventilation was so important. So that kind of comes off the list.
Yep.
Thanks to like those pots of money that we had.
That helped out a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the mower is not even on here.
Yes, that's my fault. I forgot to put that on, but I do have the more, it's just one more for 26,000.
This was just projects. This wasn't
Yeah.
equipment, so.
The elevator's a big issue at Wayne, because for the ADA accessibility to get up to the office, and so we do got to do that. And then working in the IA shop, that's my next bigger project to figure out the pricing on that.
Because your budget normally runs around 400,000.
I don't think it's that much. I think it's 250, 300 maybe. Am I right, Bridget? I think it's in that area. And that's a really good amount, 250, 300. I'd like to stay in that area or right around that. Because if we don't, we'll go behind, and we are really in a good spot right now.
That's why I think if you update this and put all those other little things in there, so that next year when you try to come here, you could say, well, there's where I had them
Okay.
and how you save money, is what I'm trying to say to you.
Yep.
So next meeting, we will be bringing forth the bond vote. We didn't obviously today because we wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about it and think about it a little bit, but we'll bring forth the motion and the recommendation at the next meeting, March 3rd. But wanted to try to get as much information out today as we could.
Any questions from those people at home? I see none.
Gary?
Oh,
Gary?
Alex has got-
Yep.
So I guess 2 points. I'm pretty sure all the major projects that was presented to us by Oak Point have been completed. So, I mean, that's a major achievement. Thank you,
Yes,
John.
yes.
and Jay and the rest of the administrative team. And I think another thing that we didn't talk too much about, but also the operational cost increase. We're predicting a slight increase due to the equipment usage. So in the grand scheme of things, I guess our operation costs are going up slightly as well.
Right. But not.
Not too much,
Right,
but
yeah.
significant.
Any other?
Oh,
do.
I think,
Yeah.
Patty?
I just have a quick question, Sean. I think it's for you. The three things that you said that were not listed on here because they came later, the lift at Wayne, the IA safety upgrades, and what was the third one? Oh, the mower. Would those things be in the general list of stuff in the district budget, or would they get moved into the bond thing also? Do you get my question? Like the things that aren't on here yet, would they be in our budget, or are we moving them into the bond?
The more will be moved into the bond. I mean, into the budget, and the other two will go into the bond. Correct?
Okay.
I believe I'm correct on that.
Go ahead, Sean.
I just want to,
You done, Patty?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Sean.
So do you see a need for any more, I don't know, I want to use the proper custodial cleaning staff? Because
Oh, yeah.
I don't see, I mean, I think we need to be real.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's one of the things I hear why we can't go back to school is because we don't have enough cleaning staff. If we need to do that, we need to be honest with people.
Yes, I do need,
I guess I direct that at Jay a little more because I hear that, oh, we can't keep up with the cleaning, so we can't be at school. Well, that's a problem to me. So I think we need to think about that in the budget and be honest with the with the voters.
and if I can just answer on that is, I haven't been fully staffed for, I can't remember how long now. And we just interviewed a little while ago. We're just not getting anybody. And I did have a really good candidate, but we don't start them out at enough they just walk. When they hear what we pay to start out, they walk. They don't. So that is something that we really, and I've talked with Jay about it a little bit, and and I think they're in negotiations right now, and I don't know how that goes and works or whatever they're doing, but hopefully it's something that comes to the front.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Because that's it. Because, I mean, I don't see these cleaning standards going away a year, 2 years from now. I mean, I heard it was in some talks. So if we need to step that up in the budget, we need to do that, not to nickel and dime.
Yeah, and that is one of my biggest things at my school is I want clean schools. And I do. I don't want to hear that my school is dirty and that people got COVID because, so that
Exactly.
we do take pride in our schools. Yeah.
So I'm all on board with that. If we need to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
I just want to state the mower is in the budget. It just wasn't on a summary
Right.
sheet tonight, but it is already built in.
Yeah.
I guess the follow-up to that is busing. Where are we at with that? I know we talked about maybe trying to contract some drivers and stuff.
So
because that
right
seems to be an
now,
issue.
so right now we have first student for 4 more weeks. And they did let us know that we can approach them again if we still need them at the end of that 4 weeks. It's very possible we'll be able to keep them. And like Rebecca had read, we actually hired a former driver who's actually helping out in the garage as well. So that has helped as well. So we're kind of okay right now, but we're still not by any stretch of the imagination out of the woods right now. For the most part, Julie's not having to drive. So she's kind of our backup right now if we get really, really stuck. So that's kind of where we are right now. We're better, but we're still not where we need to be. So I know that's
Just
very
to
big.
follow up, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is for next school year.
Yeah,
Because if you want those contracted drivers, you put that out to bid over
right.
it's kind of like
Right.
plowing anything else.
Yeah.
Because I saw in the minutes that one of the things we're looking at doing is go to 2 days a week pre-K for driving. Did I read that wrong?
We're already doing, that's what we have right now, and we're going to stay that way. So we'll do two full days for pre-K, because before they were doing 4 half days. And it saves us on it does save us on transportation.
I understand that, but
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a debate for another day, I guess.
yeah.
That decision's been made, or is that something we're going to be talking about later?
That, right now, that's how we're working.
Right now, but I mean for
Right, yeah,
next-
that's what we were working under right now.
What about for
But we
next year?
certainly can talk about it if you guys want to do that.
I'm
That's-
wondering
yeah.
about for next year.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Discuss that further
Right.
because
noted.
Any
All
further
right.
discussion?
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Sean. I have one more slide for you guys that I'll ask Diane to put up here. And it's just, and again, I know Rebecca already shared this, but I wanted to put it up just so that you guys could kind of see what it looks like. It's the very last slide. Just the type of funds, the amount we had and what we've got remaining. So again, facilities, we started with, I put 15 million there, right? No, it was 5 million. I don't know why. I apologize. I guess I would, yeah, I apologize. Yeah, where did that come from? Yeah, it was, 5 million, a little over $5,800,000 is what it was. I will get that corrected on my slide. I apologize, everyone. So, and as Rebecca said, we have a little over $900,000 available to us. And obviously we've got some projects we'll be bringing forward to you guys. The ESSER number 1 was the, and just so you guys know, that means Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. Just, someday you're on a talk show or, Jeopardy or whatever, you can answer that question. Sorry. So we have $159,000 in that line. That's what we're using to pay for the extra nurse that we currently have, pays this year and next year's salary for the most part. The CRF1, which is Corona Relief Funds, number 1, $900,000 for that. And again, Rebecca talked a little bit about what we kind of prioritized in that first round of funding. And of course, if anyone wants to see get down into all of the details of everything that we put into that, certainly reach out to me. It's public knowledge. I can give you that information very easily, but I'm not going to spend tonight listing that off for you. CRF number 2 was $940, a little over $942,000. Sorry, CRF 1, that is basically completely expended at this point, just so that you guys know. CRF 2, we have about $10,500 left to expend in that particular grant. And then the last one, as Becca again mentioned, a little over $666,000. We're in progress right now with that. I was gathering ideas. And I will be working on the application beginning in the end of next week for that. And again, Rebecca mentioned this, but we will have to kind of prioritize technology, I think, as part of this grant. We will also probably have to take a look at some of those programs, those online programs and stuff. It would be a good fit to be able to put those in the grant. That would reduce our regular budget with that as well. Interventionist in Wayne, because we have some things we need to work on there. And then of course, academic pieces, summer school, remote learning. And also I want to use some of that money for curriculum so that we beef up our curriculum going into next year. And we're prioritizing some things with that as well. But again, that would be stuff that's directly going to students in that particular case with that. So working on getting that put together, and I'll be getting that to you as soon as we get approval with that. But I actually have a much longer list than the money we have available right now. So it was really good though that there were some really worthwhile projects out there for sure. So and again, I just mentioned a few things there. There will be some more in there, but that kind of gives you a quick overview. That money has been, remember, Maine is one of the few states that actually got the money released directly to schools, and schools got to be able to be the ones to decide how to spend it. There were many states where this money never made it to schools. I am very thankful that we had the opportunity to take care of a lot of our needs and issues with this money. Without it, we would be in a very different place for sure right now. So the technology, yeah, exactly. So I wanted to give you those numbers and kind of put that out there for you, so that you have that as part of your decision-making process.
So the other thing is, do we really need 2 more buses? I mean, we don't have enough drivers for what we have. So how many total drivers do we have up there?
Yeah. Sean, are you okay?
I realize we replace them all the time.
Yes, and in the perfect world, we'll be back to the drivers that we usually have. We do have a few buses, right? And we have 2 that we could put them on the road if we put some money into them. Right now we don't use them. They're just sitting. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bridget. We get them fairly cheap, I guess, through the state. Compared to what they normally cost. My feeling is we keep doing what we're doing, because my goal, and I think Julie's goal right now, is to get drivers. We are trying the best that we can, and it is hard, but we need to get back to where we used to be. So I'd like to not decrease our fleet. I'd like to keep our fleet where we're at.
How many, when I look over there, it looks like you got 22 or.
Yeah, there's 21, I think, of buses, counting the 2 little buses. And that's why right now we're only having, I think, 10 or 11 drivers. And that's why each driver has 2 buses. We rotate every week. We have them use a different bus so that we're using those buses, putting the miles on them. And
So you're down 10 bus drivers.
well, we're down, no, because 3 or 4 of the buses we use for sports trips.
Yeah.
Those are sports trips. And then we always have a spare bus or 2. And it's worked really good since I've been here. Unfortunately, right now we're at the lowest I've ever seen, for the people, but I don't want to decrease our fleet if we don't have to.
Yep. So again, just to follow up on Gary's question, I believe, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, we've got 11 drivers on staff right now, but we basically have 7 open positions.
Yes.
For drivers, knowing that 2 of them are spares. Usually we budget for 18 drivers, and 2 out of those 18 are the spares who kind of work when somebody's out, or if we need an extra bus or whatnot. So that's why we have, again, why Sean was talking about the number of buses that we have, is because usually everyone's assigned a bus, a couple of spare buses, plus a couple of trip buses for sports runs. So in a normal year, you wouldn't see that many buses there, because in the month of especially, December, January, February, between ski teams, basketball teams, those buses are all over the place. And unfortunately this year, it didn't work that way.
Yep.
So.
Any citizens' comments regarding the budget?
So we'll do again for those people online. I see Patty waving up there, so she'll want to talk. Before Patty talks, any citizen that would like to make a comment, please send a message in the chat box to Diane McGregor, and she will help facilitate you being able to speak. In the short term, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Carr, and I'm sure he'd like to hear from Patty, who was waving. Oh, you're muted.
Yep, sorry. My question is for you, Jay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The slide that you just showed that had the COVID relief 1 and 2 and the eSurf 1 and 2. And you said, let you know if we had specific questions about what happened with the fund use, and I'm happy to talk to you later, but I have a general question, which is in the COVID relief number 2, where there's 10,000 something left. Did all of the remaining 900,330 something go toward maintenance things, or did it go to all different things?
It went to all different things. They had basically about six different categories that we can use it in, and we used, I think, 4 out of those 6 categories.
Thank you. I was just curious about how that went down. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sean.
it's just a follow-up. Could you just send the list around
Sure.
to all of us what the money?
Yep, I can do that. Why don't I just send an email and
Yeah.
I'll send these spreadsheets so you guys can take a look at them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a great idea, Sean.
And we,
Okay, go ahead. Simpson?
John, Ricker is going to speak. Go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
Simpson.
can I go?
yes.
Yep, thank you. Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. Yeah, thank you for allowing for these citizen comments. My comment tonight is we need to build a K-12 nutrition curriculum. It would cost you $5,000 to put the curriculum together, an amount equal to the amount I pay in property tax to support the school every year. A few years ago, I came to the board to ask you to fund a nutrition curriculum for the health program. The board suggested I work with the Health Advisory Council to get them involved, and I did. Rebecca, the school nurse, and I did informal interviews with the elementary, middle school, and the high school health teachers. What we found is that there is no formal curriculum in elementary, a minimal unit in the middle school, and the high school health teacher said that she basically had to start all over with a simplified middle school unit just to get the students basic knowledge of nutrition that they did not have coming into high school. Whereas the learning results for nutrition at that level should have had those students doing advanced work and exploring issues and higher level concepts. So in short, it was sad. We really do need to build a K-12 nutrition curriculum. I would like to recommend to the board that you set aside $5,000 to get the curriculum developed and the teaching units together. Many other states already deploy a curriculum and have these units. It's just a matter of pulling them together. They would definitely support your overall policy goals in the health unit area. And one of the things I noticed in this budget process is that while there is room for teachers and administrators to propose budget items, there really is no process for the public to formally request a project, a program, curriculum that you would actually engage and have to vote on. Maybe you could change that process as well. And based on that, all I'm asking is for a change in the process to get this much needed curriculum developed so that teachers can have the units they need and could use K-12 to get much needed knowledge to the students and finally have a coordinated, incremental K-12 nutrition curriculum. And just finally, one bit of data that might interest you, and it did me. Heart disease deaths in the United States in young people is actually 50% higher than the COVID deaths in young people. Now, that's not a good statistic all the way around. But you can see that diet-related diseases are increasing in younger and younger adults every year. They do not have the knowledge they need to understand what is happening to their bodies and to make good diet choices. So thank you very much for your attention to my concern tonight.
I thank you too. It's a great idea. We'll see where we can go with that. Any other people?
Hold on, we'll wait for Diane to signal us. Nope.
Thank
We're
you.
all set.
That's it.
Any more board discussion?
Discussion, anybody?
Jay, do you have a question for us?
What's that?
Do you have any questions for
I
us?
don't have any questions for you guys tonight.
Sure.